of chemistry department, very supportive. Clap for our chair. Yes, and he's always early, by the way. Yeah, like you can see, he came very early. We have Professor Thiongo, the president of the School of Physical Sciences. He's here. Yes. We also have our speaker, who is currently the examination officer. Hapo kwa mtihani kidogo naleta shida, si ndio? Kwa mtihani. We have Dr. Elijah Ngumba. Clap for him. He's here. And then we have our second speaker. Probably if you've not been in 4th year, then you may not have known her very well, but maybe she taught you in 1st year. Lakini sisi hakutufunza tukiwa 1st year. Lakini kwa uwezo wa Mwenyezi Mungu tumeweza kukutana na yeye, si ndio? Yeah. So we are grateful for Dr. Eunice Nyawade. Yes. And then we have now the mastermind behind this idea. I know there are very many masterminds, but we always appreciate when we have, there's a classmate of mine, anaitwa Charles Juma, he's not around. Huwa anasemanga, niseme kwa Kijaluo? Yes. Telomit kanigwengu. Telomit kanigwengu. Kumaanisha uongozi ni mzuri ikiwa kwenyu. The government is sweet in your home. Yes. So we have now the president of all chemistry students, all chemistry professionals in the whole country, by the way, linking us to even as far as the Royal Chemical Society of America. His name is Dr. Gitu. He's coming, by the way. Clap for him. And then, yeah, we were supposed to have, okay. Yeah, that is the end of the speakers. So, we have the executive for the Society of Chemists, Sindio? And they really worked hard to make this event successful. Sawa sawa? Yes. And before that, now, in between the chair of the Society of Chemists and then the department and the school, we have the person who links us to that level. His name is Mr. Brandon Mudavadi, and he's here with us. Clap for him. He's the school rep, School of Physical Sciences, and probably in the next coming elections, we'll have School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, and we hope to bring it home. Sindio? Yeah, like we always do. Okay. Then the exec, I would like to just mention them. You can always see them in some distinct t-shirts here, courtesy of lifeskills.com. Sindio? Yeah, we have Mr. Chibona, we have Madam, you can just wave for now, Madam Linda, the vice chair, we have the secretary general, we have Madam Adika, she's interim secretary general, wave for them. Yeah, we have from that point we have media and publicity secretary, my successor. Yes, thank you, Mr. Omengo. We have the finance secretary, Juma Joseph, all the way from Kendu Bay. Yes. We have the organizing secretary, he's not around, he's Mohamedin. Yes, he's not around. And then we have the class representatives, Mr. Maurice Adede, for their representative. Ayuko? Ako busy na project. Project inatusumbua sana. Sawa sawa? Yeah, third year representative, we have Isaac. And then second year representative, we have Nani? Yeah, Mr. Nyaga, he's not around. This actually was a 4th year's event, and then munaelewa, si ndio? Yeah, and then first years wako nyumbani. Kwanza wanajaribu kunywa uji kidogo. Sawa sawa. So we have to start. Nimeongea mingi sana. We have someone praying for us. Tuanze, tafadhali. Any volunteer? Any volunteer? Nichague? Oh, it's okay. We have our Sekjen. Mpigie makofi akikuja.
Let's pray. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you for this particular time. We glorify your name because you're great. We pray that you may be with us through this time. Open our mind and understanding that we may get something out of here. For it is in the mighty name of Jesus I pray, trusting and believing.
Amen. Makofi. Mtapiga makofi? Hey, ndio tumeanza. Mtapiga makofi sana. Okay, so before we do anything, we have to be welcome, sindio? Yeah, so let's call our chair, Mr. Chibona, to officially open this event.
Okay, my name is Chibona M. Moses. Hope I've interacted with almost everyone. Now, our chairman, Kenya Chemical Society, Dr. Kitu, our case speakers, Dr. Nanyawade, and our examiner, the manager, Dr. Gumba, the dean, president, Professor Thiongo, our chairman, Dr. Kipto. We have our school rep, Mr. Mudavadi Brandon, my successor, and the chairman, the coordinator, LifeSkill.com, Mr. Brian Sakwa. All protocol observed, and our dear members, good morning. Is with the great pleasure we're here to launch sound chemical management. Actually, God loves us. Tap yourself, God loves me. And God loves the Society of Chemists. This is a privilege to have such like an event, a national event, to be launched in Kenya, and it's nowhere else other than Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in the Society of Chemists. That's why, please clap for us. Good. I won't talk much because for today tulikuwa tunaambiwa hapo nyuma that ukuwe mwingi wa kusikiliza, usikuwe mwingi wa kusikilizwa. Hapo Kiswahili kidogo tatanishi. Sawa sawa. Fine. So you feel free, feel at home, away from home. Then we listen, we take the knowledge. We are actually taking the knowledge from the source. This is the source. Sasa, yafaa tufurahi. Actually, niko na furaha kubwa to attend such like an event. Thank you. Let us sit back, relax, enjoy, take the content. For the facilitators of the day, please, you're welcome. We are grateful to have you, and it's our pleasure. Thank you.
Clap for Chibona. You could actually mix Kiswahili and English, and at the end of the day, they come out to be the same information you wanted us to get. Mimi kidogo sitaweza hiyo. Sawa. So, because the event has started officially, and because you are the first people to come, I'll give you a privilege of going home with some credit. Sawa sawa? Yes. Just 1 minute. Let's open our phones. Wale wameweka fingerprint, waweke. Wengine wanaweka mpaka kwa WhatsApp. What are you hiding? What are you hiding? Okay, so let's write, this is not for Airtel users, tafadhali, mtafute network kwanza. Tuko kwa Safaricom, sawa sawa? Yes, wale wa Safaricom peke yake. And our professors, you are free to join us. Only that, last time someone actually grabbed a credit in the professor's section and we don't know who took it. So this time, if you get it, please just tell us. Okay. So *141*. I'll read it very, very fast. Sawa. 0398 1925 3518 1360 hash. Kuna message mahali. Nani amechukua? Sema tu, tunajua ni Infinix. Lakini inua mkono tutajua tu ni wewe. Oh, ni watu wa Techno. Moses Kabiru for the industrial chemistry. Clap for him. Okay. Let's go to Mr. Brandon. Just greet us. Tell us about your docket. And then we go to the next speaker. Please, welcome. Clap for Brandon.
Thank you, Moses. Our Dean, who is Professor Thiongo, Dean of School of Physical Sciences. Then we have the chair of Kenya Chemical Society, Dr. Gitu. Then you have the chair of the department, Dr. Kipto. Then you have our guest speakers, who is the examination officer, Dr. Elijah Ngumba. And then Dr. Eunice Nyawadi. The Society of Chemists, the chair of the Society of Chemists, and all the protocols observed. Good morning. Is it morning? Okay, mine is very brief. As you have heard, Moses has said that I'm the school representative for School of Physical Sciences. You guys are the ones who voted me in to represent you. And mine will be very brief. The Society of Chemistry is a very active, one of the very active societies and clubs in the school. This one goes to Professor Thiongo because I know yeye ndio tunakaa naye sana tukitafakari. Kuna kwanga na tafakari ya babu, si ndio? Tukitafakari kuhusu huyu sasa ni tafakari, huwa anatafakari kuhusu venye school inafaa iendelee na vitu mingi sana ambazo zinafaa zifanyike kwa shule. Huwa tunakuwa na yeye. So as Moses had said earlier, I'm only a link to I only link you guys to the school and with the dean, with the chair, and all this stuff that you are seeing here. So you clap for them. Clap for them, man. They are good guys, eh? Yeah. So as I've said, mine will be very brief. And as JKUSA, as a representative of JKUSA, we had a meeting today in the morning with the president of the JKUSA, and he told me to greet you guys because he had an inconvenience. So he's not, he couldn't make it on time here, but he said that maybe he may join us later. But simna receive greetings zake, sindo? Hata wale wengine, wale JKUSA executive wote, the Congress, they greet you and they told me that you guys are doing a good job, you need support. And the fourth years who are here, they say that you guys are great. You've been very, very, very consistent with this society and this club. So thumbs up to you. Sawa sawa. Asanteni sana. So about the Society of Chemists, as one of my clubs in the school, Professor Thiongo, this is a very big club. Because we remember even the last time we organized the career event, and we even invited you. I know you remember, eh? We had a very big career event in the school, and it was about this society. We organized with this society, and we brought very many speakers from different fields, from different industries, from different places in Kenya, whereby Dr. Gitu was also chairing. And I'm very happy that Dr. Gitu has been giving us support, and is a very good man, and I really appreciate him. So as you can see, JKUSA here, they say that we are stronger together, right? We are stronger together. So we can only do these things together when we come together as a common. When we come to a pivot point, when we are all together, we can do greater things. You know? So let us always be coming together like as a society. And as a school, actually, as a school we have society. We have two clubs, two societies. There's Society of Chemistry and Society of Physics. But now the problem is the Society of Physics has some issues that I would really love that if we can revive the society, maybe we'll talk with the dean and the chair of the physics, because he's not even here, so that we can at least look for a way we can revive the society, sindo? Kama angekuwa hapa ningemwambia, lakini sasa hayuko, tutaongea tu huko kwa ofisi, sindo? Alafu to revive your society, so that at least we have two societies which comes together, pulls together and make great things as far as the university is concerned. Now, so one of the major projects that I had requested from the Congress, tomorrow we're having a sitting, we're having a budget tomorrow, and I had talked to the president, and he told me that they are going to really work hard so that they can at least give you some amount. These are very, in fact, he was very happy and he was very surprised that we are making events like after a short while we make an event, sindo, and then we invite him, sindo. So alisema kesho kesho tunapitisha budget. So tukishamaliza kupitisha budget, we'll be able to allocate for the Society of Chemists some cash so that at least can help you to run your activities in here, sindo. Sio ni mzuri? So kesho tukikuwa, kwa hiyo najua kunakuwa hapa na watu wenye wame apply speakers gallery. When you will be there, they are the same thing that I'll be requesting. You will be given something. So that support you just need to give you. Me, like being here, I'm one of your members. I'm a registered member of society, but at the same time, I need to support you. Sindo? Lazima we support each other. So we are going to support that. Then about there was also another thing about the contract of SOP. To be given a contract of SOP. The Society of Chemistry was to be given a contract by the Bwana Professor. They were supposed to be given they produce soap. You normally prepare soap, eh? There's a soap that we prepare, and we even call for classes so that students can come and maybe learn on how to prepare them. Right, Brian Saku? So my plea also goes to Professor Thiong, because I've really tried to talk to the president, and he channeled my information to the VC, and he told me that the Society of Chemistry should be given at least a contract, because it's one of the clubs that supports these schools. You know, we support these schools, and we are the students of these schools. And you are in fact, not just students, you are bona fide student of this school, and this is a very great club. So if this society can be given a contract to manufacture soap or to prepare soap for the school, the detergent one that it's used to clean everywhere, sindio? Ukienda hall 6, wale watu wangu wa hall 6, ukienda huko utaona unasafisha huko na soap. Ukienda assembly hall, hata hapa hivi utapata unasafisha. So hiyo sabuni kama society inaweza patiwa hiyo contract, hata mkwe mnapatiana, hata kama ni 40 liters, itakuwa vizuri, sindo? At least we'll be given something so that it can continue to support the society in future, and those who will be coming in future once the fourth years are out. I know I'm not a fourth year, I'm a third year, but we still continue supporting each other. As hata mkimaliza mkienda huko nje, sindo? Tuendelea kusupportiana tu. Then so my request is this, sir, kindly, I'm really requesting that we can, if there's a way that we can reach the VC or the VC administration, because I know he's the one who is in charge of that. If we can reach him or her so that at least he can give us that contract, we really appreciate. As a society, we really appreciate. As the school, we really appreciate. So that's one of my pleas as your student leader. Then again, as you can see, right now we are using JKUSA banner, of which is not right. JKUSA banner is only supposed to be used in events that are supposed to kutumika na JKUSA and whatever. So, hata wewe, you're a member of JKUSA, you can still use this one. But as a club, we will also really request to have also our own banner, a Society of Chemists, so that when we have an event here, we come and put here a banner. Hata tukiweka JKUSA na tuweke ya Society of Chemists, itakuwa sawa, sindo? So we really appreciate Bwana Dean. We want a banner, Society of Chemists banner, and then we can also have another one for schools, sindo? Tukikuwa nazo mbili, kwani shida iko wapi? Si ni sawa tu, si hata mtu anaweza kuwa na nguo hata viatu 10, kwani shida iko wapi? Hakuna shida, si ndio? So I just want to talk about that because I believe that some of the few challenges that are affecting this society, and as far as I'm concerned, and as chair of this society, who is my classmate, we really huwa tuna converse kidogo na tunajua shida ambazo zinakumba society, si ndio? So mimi ni hayo tuko machache, na nazidi kuwashukuru sana, na nazidi kusema like muendelee hivyo, tuendelee kusapotiana kwa kila kitu. We are together, we are one family, and the speakers and the professors are here, they are going to support us. We are one thing, si ndio? Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza. Maybe next time pia tutazungumza, si ndio? Asanteni sana. Thanks.
Let's clap for him once more. Thank you. Very quickly, we should have coordinator liveskills.com, Mr. Brian Sakwa. He's smartly dressed one. You know, tukifika for there tunaanza ni kama kuna mtu, si ndio?
Thank you so much. My name is Sakwa Brian. Actually, sina slim tie. This is my tie. Ni pana, lakini I'm happy for appreciating me for being smart. So actually, it's just to give a report on about liveskill.com. I'm an analytical chemist. We really do appreciate for you speakers for being with us today, because it's a good request. Now, about this chemical sound management, you'll have to realize that some people hawakuwa na that information about what is going to happen today. For example, there's someone who has been finding out at the event ni ya nini, as in your sound inasimamia wapi. Like basically it's all about training ourselves on how to manage chemicals. Sawa. For example, now you realize that now we are getting out there, we are going to be in companies, wherever we will be, we have to learn on how to manage the chemicals. Now this one affects us directly as the seniors, because now like the liveskill.com, we do produce so many products. For example, there is soap, there is lotions, and what have you. Now, how do we manage these chemicals? How do you manage the soap that you're using at home? Kwa sababu definitely itajipata imeenda to the water bodies. Now we have to learn how to tackle them. Now, for liveskill.com, we have the CEO who is Professor Karero, who is part of our lecturer here in JKUAT. And we do appreciate for him coming up with such an initiative for the purpose of the students. And actually, we've been creating so many partnerships. Currently, we've partnered with the Society of Chemists. And at the same time, we've been visiting the KEFRI. KEFRI is part of our partners. And we do appreciate for the step we are making. So in the previous meeting, the previous trainings, we were focusing on training the students on how to make the multi-purpose liquid soap, where we gave the training to about 100 students, right? Then after that training, we issued some certificates. So actually there's this claim where people were trying to claim that is it so being different from the mama mboga who can as well make the product out there. We are very different because once you are a scientist, you are able to argue out there the purpose of Ufaseed, the purpose of Ungero. Like mama mboga haizifanya kitu kama hiyo. But once you are a scientist, you've been trained, you can be able to argue on that aspect that this quantity should be in this ratio and what have you. That's very key. So like you should not be feeling like being part of that training you're wasting time. There is no wastage of time. You should actually stand out to be a scientist, right? So in the next regime, we are planning to train the students or any willing partner. We train them on how to make the lotions. And we'll be focusing not only to the students, hata nyi finalists mkimaliza, we are going to focus on training you on how to make the lotions. Then once you're trained, that's what we are chasing, we are liaising with the JKUSA office on obtaining the contracts on how to supply the soap within the school. Kwa sababu we are the scientists. We have to be given that legitimacy of at least supplying the soap in school, which is very good. Sindo? Now for the lotions, definitely once you are done, this school iko na jina kubwa. tuko everywhere. Ukienda in any company, mkienda trip like everywhere, people usually argue on how JKUAT is a big school. So in any case you are coming up with a product, it's well respected. Rather than wewe kwenda tu kwa nje kwanza kujiundia product wewe mwenyewe, sometimes it won't really buy the people. But once you do it as a team of SOC, it wins that respect. That's why once we obtain these contracts in so many high schools and what have you, I'm sure so many schools are going to be in to obtain our product because it's actually from the JKUAT. So that's the reason why we focus on doing it as a team. So I really appreciate on what JKUAT is doing. That's why we had to borrow this banner, because they're part of us. Mr. Soma has always been promising, and I'm sure once we give the pressure to our seniors here, we are going to have the tender. We really have to have it. So thank you so much. There's so much to come. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Very brief and to the point. Hey. Sawa. From tomorrow, I'm putting on official. Mpaka Saturday. Sawa. So, we've cleared with the students section. Sawa. Sasa nyinyi wote. Hiyo jina ingine yenye sitaki kusema. Tunaendelea kwa sisi kama professors sasa. Sisi kama professors, wacha tuwaongeleshe. Nyinyi mtusikize. Sawa. Yes, and our next speaker is actually the chair of department, Dr. Jackson Kipto. Let's welcome him. Clap for him mpaka afike bana. Thank you.
Thank you. The Dean, School of Mathematical and Physical Sciences, the Chair, Kenya Chemical Society, the facilitators for this event, student leadership, Chemical Society, students, good morning. Mine is just to welcome you and thank the facilitators for taking their time to come and educate you on sound chemical management. I also want to congratulate your leadership for organizing such events. You really need this kind of events. It's good for you, good for your CVs, and you are encouraged to organize more. We will always be there to assist. So feel free to whatever support, financial or otherwise. You can always organize events to fundraise, including the making of the soap. Okay, do the lobbying. We will assist you where we can. So you are encouraged. Also, it's also good for you hone your leadership skills. When you live here, you go to the market. You need to market yourself. And it starts slowly. Nobody was born a speaker. You just try. You try the first one, it flops, the second one a little better. By the time you reach the 10th one, you are already a speaker. So don't give up and recoil. No. Failure is a very good experience, only when used positively. Okay? So today is about sound chemicals management. Let me say that in the lab, all chemicals actually are toxic. All chemicals. Even the very simple ones that you think are safe. There's always a label associated. The carcinogenic, flammable, like even a simple ammonium nitrate, which should be a very useful fertilizer. Somebody can easily convert it to a bomb. Okay, so really, you remember the other day in Beirut, somebody stored tons of ammonium nitrate and it exploded and killed so many people. And the intended use was to be a fertilizer. So, in short, we need sound management of chemicals. And sound management means handling. Okay, what do you do with it now that we cannot do without chemicals? They play a very big role. People are making billions out of chemicals. You need them in the lab, you can't do without them. So the only thing you can do is to manage. And this management is handling, safe disposal. You have heard of the reduce, recycle, all that. The facilitators will take you through all this. So mine is just to say, we listen carefully, take some knowledge out of this, and practice. When you go out there, maybe you attend the interviews. One of the very important things you will need to know is sound management of chemicals. Now that is, as chemists, you are the ones to be educating people. Maybe in that company you are told to be the head of safety. Okay, so you need to have some knowledge. Okay, so take it seriously. I hope the facilitators, through the facilitators, through Dr. Gitu, we can be able to give you a certificate, so that when you apply for a job, you are touched. You are a specialist in sound chemical management. Yeah? Why not? Because you have handled chemicals, you have been trained on how to handle chemicals safely. You should be confident and be an authority in that. So without taking much of the time, I want to invite the Dean to say a few words and declare the event officially opened. Although you illegally opened the... that was not your role. Welcome, Prof.
Somebody left his mask. Our national chairman of Chemical Society, Dr. Gitu, our chairman, okay, I can come here. Our chairman of Department of Chemistry, Dr. Kiptong. You are JECUSA representative, I have always been telling him to change his name to Silverstone because his namesake changed Kakamega in his time. That he was called Silverstone Mudavadi. He was Minister for Basic Education, then Minister for Local Government. Powerful guy, the father of the chairman of NASA. Is NASA or he has a party. So I've been requesting him to change from the other name to Silverstone because Silverstone is powerful. But Mudavadi, thank you. He has been consistent in leadership, and later on I will talk a little on students and leadership. The officials of the Society of Chemistry, let me tell you, members, it's one of the oldest clubs here. It was started way back in 90s, and if you have files, and the first patron was Professor Chacha, who is a DVC in Maseno University, and then Dr. Odith took over from him. There were sweet days, because if you ask Dr. Geto, they had trips all over in industries, yes, including going to Mombasa, and they would swim there. But good days are coming also. We should always dreaming. There are better days are coming. So all officials, those that are the previous ones and those that are there, thank you very much for for coming up with this idea of having this workshop. I have already talked with your chairman. I consulted him. Because if I had been informed earlier, I think this is something I did not qualify to open. We needed higher office. But for next time, the organizers and our national chairman and the chairman of the department, please let us make this arrangement early. I have seen it even becoming a national conference. To be wonderful. This subject is a powerful subject. I'll give you a few examples of myself. I did my PhD in a university in India called IIT Roorkee. And I was looking forward to finish my PhD and visit Delhi and look for where Juakali industries were, because India was famous of Juakali industries. And the first one I visited was manufacturing batteries. They were recycling what Dr. Kiptoo talked about in terms of managing chemicals, recycling. Unfortunately, the fellows that were actually doing it had little chemistry, very little chemistry. For them, they had a small space. Not even, the ground was not cemented. And of course, when you cement even a ground where you are going to use sulfuric acid and others, it doesn't last for long. What surprised me is that since they had nowhere to throw their waste. So they would make their batteries, throw their acid out, and they continue making their stuff. On the day I visited, I felt pity. I pitied them because it had rained. And as usual in Juakali areas, there is no drainage. So actually, the stuff they had poured outside their small factory, the liquid was flowing in. And do you know what that liquid was? During the drying season, it's a white material. When it rains, this is an acid, and a really strong acid. And that's what they are stepping on. They would say their legs are aching, they are itching, and so on. Some developing wounds. Visit Gikoba, where they are making paints. They make their day-to-day living by making their paints. And some of the industries that are becoming big industries, actually they have become, I'm not remembering the names. They started, the industry of making paints, or the process of making paints. Sorry. And it's done in our chemistry products. It's only starting. We are just mixing. But the stuff stinks. The oils stink. But these guys will never put anything to care for their noses or their mouth, because thank God now we have masks. So COVID is helping maybe those guys that were making paints. What am I saying? This issue or this conference, sound chemical management, it should have come in 1963 when we became independent. Because there are very many people who have died. They do not know they got their cancer through the volatile oils they were using to make chemicals, through the wrong use of pesticides. Because to use pesticides, for example, you need protective gear. And using of fertilizers, I'm sure industrial chemistry, you are doing SCH 2439, or that's 7, agrochemicals. You rarely deal with the issue of how you use fertilizers. We talk about manufacturing and so on. But the farmers, and that's what I was sharing with my friends, they would take some fertilizer and put in the hose using their hearts. And the next thing, if there is ugali, because usually it is taken in the farm, they will just take the ugali, the usuma, the corn, and they cut properly with the, some people, Mudavadi, some people don't know how to eat ugali. Wanapika namna hii. Wanaharibu ugali. Badala ya kula. But they will eat with their fertilizers in their hands and in their nails. So that's why I'm saying this sound chemical management is a subject that should not only be talked about in JKUAT. Perhaps we should move from JKUAT to counties. And I'm sure, Dr. Geto, you are making ambassadors in this workshop. Because they come, all of them come from different countries. And governors should be educated. They should start employing graduates from universities and much more from JKUAT. So that this message can reach them. And it goes on, even wherever we use chemicals, water treatment. Sometimes they also put excess. I don't know whether you have ever used water where excess chlorine was added. And maybe that's why we are saying cancer, 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 and we are not able to tell where it came from. It is misuse, mishandling of chemicals. So, allow me to come to your politics. One, you mentioned about physics society. I will follow it up with the chairman once he comes back. He's away on compassionate leave. Contract for soap. I would say continue working with the JICUSA. JICUSA, you know you are power of people. You are power of people. Do not disturb my chairman for a contract. Because the chairman, I'll be asking him to tell me how much he has made from Chemistry Product Center. And it's doing the same. But nevertheless, Chemistry Product Center, I do not mind the chairman if we could help our students to train them more, even in use of manufacturing of other products, including paints. I would be happy to hear Mudavadi is manufacturing paints somewhere in Vihiga. Yes? The market is big. Yes? Cosmetics. And I have many sisters here. Or my daughters. They are my daughters. They are not my sisters. Unless they are my daughters from, where our fathers had many wives. So, from the last wife. So, from the last wife, you might become my sister. But in the real sense, I have always told you, you are younger than my last born. Am I right, Mudavadi? Yeah, that is how young I am. So, again, talk with Professor Kareru on that, and Dr. Waudo and the chairman. All right? Please, please, let me tell you, you are in a very fertile ground, and you will never be in such a ground again. This ground called JKUAT is a fertile ground. Use it. When I see you, you are just hardful. Yet chemistry alone, we have more than maybe close to 1,000 students. You can't fit here. But only a handful that have taken this opportunity. I want to point out that the issue of the banner was brought to me yesterday by your chairman and Mohammedin. Where is Mohammedin? I'm not seeing him. He's not a chemist. Eh? Pardon? Okay. But one is that there is no banner that is kept for general things like this one. For JKUAT, for JICUSA, it's JICUSA. But for JKUAT, when you talk about a banner, if we are dealing with water, it will be something on water. GCMS, which Dr. Geto, Dr. Goba finished training last week, a banner for GCMS training. So when you see banners in JKUAT, they are all unique, describing the activity that is going on. And I asked my friends, do you have around 2,000 to 5,000 to make one? And they didn't have. So, and they only came in the evening, Mudavadi. Can you imagine? Even me, I couldn't get 5,000 in the evening. For the logo, I think Society of Chemists used to have. There is a benzene. Maybe you can ask yourself, is the benzene ring describing you proper? Right? And you are allowed, we change, all right? In fact, when we change, we change with the time. And the reason we change is that nothing is static, including yourself. My advice to the Society of Chemists, when you are a society, you have a commonality between yourselves. One commonality is that you are all people perhaps who takes chemistry. Zamani, because of the trips, it had many others. Yeah, it had many others. But now, perhaps majority of you are chemists. When you talk about politics, we talk about power, and the other thing we talk about is control of resources or distribution of resources. I am happy to run our able representative is make sure a little comes to us as a Society of Chemists. But we need some more, just like the Oliver Twist. What am I saying? If you unite, you can take more to JICUSA. Hello? I will not shout that one. If you are together, united, you take more to what? More representation in JICUSA. If you have it, then this society will be the richest. With those few remarks, I will declare this workshop on sound chemical management open. Thank you.
Let's clap for Prof. The program has been officially started. Those people who listen to Mwashumbe and Sugar Boy in the morning. Now, Prof told me to take my mask and he didn't remind me to take my credit. Now, I'm trying to find. Prof, it was 1,000. But I'm only seeing 50 bob. Could there be a problem? Okay. Yes, now we are going down to the main business of the day. So if you carried your pen, please, you can remove it. I know you removed it earlier on and we've already taken the notes. Some of you also recorded, Sindio? And courtesy of Discover JKUAT, by the way, nowadays we are really supported from every corner of the school. Discover JKUAT is here and the event is being captured, by the way, so we really appreciate. Sawa? Yes. We would like to go to our first speaker for the sound chemical management. His name is Dr. Elinja Ngumba. He's currently the examination officer for chemistry department. Yes, and he took us through some units back then in second year. We did nuclear chemistry and radio activities, ndio? Najua kuna second years wengine wanaweza kuwa na esa hizi. Yes, he's going to talk about the role of Kenya Chemical Society in training awareness of sound chemicals management. Also, Kenya Chemical Policy. Let's welcome Dr. Ngumba.
Good morning, or is it afternoon? It's still morning. I'm very happy and excited to be part of this forum. I am one of the former members of Society of Chemistry in this university. I was a member of Society of Chemistry about 20 years ago in this university. Sio kitabu sana, it's just the other day. And I know some of you were very young, others were just about to be born. And you still are grateful that we have an opportunity to come and interact. Being the first speaker who is dealing with the issue of sound chemical management, I want to state categorically right from the word go that we are not here to teach you all about sound chemical management, because this can take quite a number of hours to complete. We are just trying to initiate the reaction. You remember the radical reactions? The way we can get a radical out of a reaction. And once we initiate the reaction, the other chain reactions will be facilitated by you, provided you now have enough radicals in the system to keep moving forward. And as the MC has clearly stated, this is the first of its kind in this country. We have not had any other training event, especially with the student dealing with sound chemical management. So if there will be a certificate that will be issued, it will be the inaugural certificate of sound chemical management in this country. And we are here with the blessings. We are here with the blessings of the Kenya Chemical Society, and even the highest office of Kenya Chemical Society. We have the JKUAT representative, Dr. Nyawade, aware that we are having this training in this institution, and other institutions will take it up after us. We do not have a syllabus yet, a complete syllabus, but with time we'll have a more complete syllabus. There will be some overlaps between what I'll talk about, what Dr. Gitu will talk about, and what Dr. Nyawade will talk about. But these overlaps are because whatever we are talking about is quite interrelated, and mine is just to introduce you into the aspects of the sound chemical management and mention a few things that we are doing as Kenya Chemical Society and what has already been done and what we intend to do. Can move to the next slide. Director. It's not working? Uh-huh. Okay. So we are there. It's about some counter-thinking pictures that I put. I hope they are very clear. Around us, we are surrounded by chemicals. What we are wearing, what we sometimes eat, the drugs that we take, all those are chemicals that we interact with on a daily basis. And they have their own life cycles. So there was this character who had gone to the delivery room. And the question that was asked by the mother, is it a boy or a girl after delivery? And the midwife was saying both. Actually, thanks to all the chemicals in water these days. Are we together there? So the chemicals that we are having in the environment are definitely having some detrimental effect, not only to the environment, but also to life. Then there was this character similar to the one from India doing batteries, who had categorized his chemicals in some version. Just the same way you can do. The categorization was least harmful, kind of harmful, kind of dangerous, quite dangerous. Oh my gosh, really dangerous. That is his categorization. That is his way of management. And you can see all of them are on the same shelf. And the shelf does not look so strong. It's kind of, oh my gosh, that shelf may come down and fall. Can go to the next slide. Go to the next slide, please. Okay. So we are talking about the chemicals that we are having currently can be used in variety of products, processes, and we cannot escape from the fact that these chemicals are major contributors to global and national economy. We know in Kenya, chemicals contribute very significant percentage of the GDP, and they have wide applications, right from agriculture, manufacturing, energy. We have extractive industries, petroleum and mining, health sector, and most other industries are currently using some form of chemicals. That is not the sin. The sin is that in Kenya currently, the chemicals are largely misused and abused. Those of you who have visited industrial area and you see this one in a later slide, will know that chemicals are largely misused and abused. Let's take, for example, our own bodies, the way we utilize the chemicals that we buy from the pharmacies. The current law in Kenya is very good, but the implementation of the laws that govern pharmaceuticals is very poor. Implementation. The law is there, it's written, but it's not well implemented. And the question is, who will be the ambassadors for the implementation of these laws if it's not you? That's why I told you we are coming here to trigger you to go and raise some of those concerns that we have in the country so that we can save the world and the country at large. I was mentioning about what happens to us when we get sick. I tried one pharmacy just the other day outside the gate. I had a prescription and I took that prescription to the pharmacist and I realized the person is just a quack, not a pharmacist. Because once I looked my previous knowledge in dealing with some of these pharmaceuticals saved me for that case. Because the way he wrote the prescription out of the drugs, the way I purchased them, I saw something is amiss here. Something that I should take times 3, he wrote times 1. Because in the hospital, they always see something divided by 3, something divided by 2. I don't know whether he understood that. I tried to argue. He told me, no, if you don't trust me, go to another pharmacy. So I thought he might not take the medicine. So I went to another pharmacy. And my fear was confirmed there. That he was selling me the medicine or the drugs, but writing the wrong prescription. Is that proper management of the chemical? Because that is a chemical that was to be introduced into my body. The good thing for him, he was underdosing me. Maybe it could not have had major detrimental effect. What could have happened if he overdosed me? Are we together there? Again, if you walk into any of these pharmacies that we are having here, you can get any manner of pharmaceutical that you want to buy. You know, right now we are in an era where we are having issues to do with antibiotic resistance and related stuff. True or false? And anytime you have a cold, even though that cold is not being caused by a bacteria, when you visit a pharmacy, the thing that they will always tell you, jaribu kutumia antibiotic kidogo, unaweza kuwa na ka-infection. Is that the case? So you go take it for 2 or 3 days, then you discard the drugs because it was just a normal, common cold. What have you done to your body? You have told it, next time when you take this drug, do not respond because this is more of a ideri. It's quite typical. Your body, you start getting used to some of that. That is what I'm talking about. The chemicals, and I've used that as an example, are getting abused and misused. So when you go home and get your mother is just buying antibiotics over the counter, ask him or her, do you have a prescription? Are we together? The same case applies to the other chemicals that we interact with on a daily basis. I hear some of you have, in the club, you're making soaps, you're dealing with chemicals. How do you handle those chemicals? When you go to buy those components or those mixes that you use for manufacture of detergents, there's the way they handle them out there. You know how they handle them. But at the end of the day, you need to be on the ground to educate these people on how to effectively handle these components. Hence, we are saying sound chemical management throughout the life of a chemical, life cycle of a chemical is very essential to avoid the complex and increasingly effects to human health, ecosystem, and substantial cost to national economies. You know of things that we call endocrine disrupting compounds. Have you heard of them? Those are the compounds that will affect the hormonal configuration of an organism. For example, if you have estradiol, edrin estradiol, this, you call it family planning pills, but they are not family planning, they are just contraceptives because they are being taken by everybody, even those who are not planning to have any family. So they are not family planning pills, they are contraceptives. They are being taken en masse, in mass. What happens when you discharge untreated waste in a riverine system? You find that the fish on the lower side of that river will start behaving, the female or the male fish will start behaving like a girl fish. What we call the feminization of organisms in the environment. Do you think there will be procreation on the lower side? There will be no procreation on the lower side. So those are some of the ecological effects that you come across during the course of your interaction with chemicals. You can move to the next slide. So the purpose of this training, or the purpose of our initiatives, is to prevent, and where it is not feasible, to reduce or minimize the potential for exposure of people and the environment to some of these chemicals. So when you be telling people, I'm trained in sound chemical management, it means you already have put in yourselves some skills that you'll be able to advise members of the society and the community on how to minimize some of these effects of the chemicals in the environment. And some of these include the prevention, reduction, remediation, minimization, and elimination of the risks that are associated with these chemicals during their life cycle, and that is during the production stage, during the storage stage, during the transport, and during the disposal. Later on, you'll see another slide that will handle this in more detail. So solid chemical management is about dealing with the chemicals throughout their life cycle. Next slide. Why should we be concerned about chemical management? When I was young, any river closer to our home, the water was very palatable. Unaenda kwa mto, unainama, unakunywa, kiu inaisha, unaenda nyumbani. Can you dare do that today? Yes? Unless you come from deep within Mount Elgon, you come from deep within Mount Kenya, deep within Aberdares, in those relatively pristine environment. But the environment that I grew in, the composition of that water is different from how it used to be a couple of years ago. Globally, chemical production is expected to continue increasing. And in Kenya, the chemical aspects, the growth is around 3 to 5% in the usage every year. And as you can see, by 2030, the worth of the chemical industry will be more than, these figures are large. This is more than in billions of USD, more than 5 trillion Actually, that is 5 trillion, because these are thousands of billions. So it is expected by the year 2030, the chemical industry will be worth more than 5 trillion, and something needs to be done. If these skills are not imparted now, who will impart these skills on sound chemical management? If you are not managing the chemicals well at this stage, are you together there? What will happen when you be having double the amount of chemicals that we have now? Next slide. The life cycle of a chemical is so interrelated and intertwined. Most chemicals, especially those that are extractive, are those that involve synthesis. You move from extraction of raw materials, you move to the manufacture and refining. You have downstream chemical processes, manufacture of finished products, and products are used and reused. And in all these stages, you produce some chemicals. Some of the byproducts will end up in the environment. But before they get to the environment, we have what we call occupational exposures. Those of you who will be working in the industries, as you interact with the environment, with your chemicals, one of the key features is ensure that you have enough personal protective equipments. The good thing is that now we know about PPEs because of Corona. Before Corona, very few people had heard about PPEs. We always think PPEs are about Corona. But when you're working in any industry, ensure that you have adequate PPEs, because the effects of these chemicals may not be short term. They may be long term. Are we together? There may be no feeling today, but there may be some chronic effects that will come in future. So the first thing that happens with people working with all these processes is what we call occupational exposures. And this is the point where, as you go out into the field, you try to minimize the occupational exposure from these chemicals. Then after the occupational exposure, the residual chemicals during the washing and the exhaust, they will end up in water, they will end up in soil, either as disposal or as leachates. Then the environmental exposures that I was telling you about, like the feminization of fish that I have just mentioned, may happen in the environment. One of the things that the government has been insisting on is on the recycle, reuse, and the 3 R's. Recycle, reuse, reduce, recycle, reuse. Recycling is very good and very ideal. But for some of these industries, recycling comes with extensive environmental degradation. As you see, maybe in the next but one slide, I have mentioned about some things that have been happening in this country, whereby during recycling, there is more damage to the environment than when this product was discarded. Are we together there? So we should be very keen, even as we propagate the gospel of recycling, not to create more damage to the environment. Recycling is good, but it should not come to have some damage into the environment. You can go to the next slide. Some of the health effects, and the list is not exhaustive, of some of these chemicals that we are dealing with, is that the chemicals that we are handling, about 42% of chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, which is a gradual loss of lung function, is attributable to environmental risk factors such as occupational health exposures. This is where you find people, they work in an industry for some time, then they start developing aspects to do with asthma. Siku hizi nafungana mapua sana. Unasikia watu wanasema siku hizi nafungana, nasikia kifua ikiwa mzito. Occupational exposures. We have indoor air pollution from household and solid fuel use. We are saying about 5% of all congenital anomalies are attributable to environmental causes, where in the environment there's a lot of chemicals that are released there. Lung cancer, 9% of all that is associated with occupational exposure. 2% of leukemia is related to occupational exposure. Again, at least about 2% of heart diseases and 3% of all cerebrovascular diseases could be related to lead exposure. The same lead that Professor Viongo was talking about here. 68% of all poisoning in adults are attributable to occupational or environmental exposure. Then 85% of all poisoning in children are related to exposure to chemicals, including pharmaceuticals, often because they are not stored properly. What does that mean? They are not managed, because storage is an aspect of management of that chemical. So what we are trying to say is that we should be very keen when dealing with chemicals, including the suicides that people sometimes perform. They do suicide because they have access to some of these chemicals. Next slide. Those are health effects of chemicals. We have environmental effects of chemicals. We have the atmosphere, you get fouled. Water resources will get destroyed. And in the process, if they get destroyed, you have cancers, endocrine disruption in aquatic animals, loss of invertebrate biodiversity, amongst others. Those who have read a novel or a book called The Silent Springs. Have you heard of that novel, Silent Springs, by somebody called Rachel Carson? It is about the springs that do not have birds. The springs are there, the water is very clean, but the biodiversity in birds is not there. You can go, it's downloadable, you can go download it. And you can recall, no, you cannot, because you don't know. You are not there, you are not born. I have just remembered that you are not born. Long ago, we used to have this pesticide called DDT. Have you heard of it? It was very effective. It was a miracle when it was invented. Very ideal. Those places where we have a lot of malaria, DDT was God-sent chemical. People even used to wash their bodies sometimes with DDT, because long ago, having some lice and other kind of insects on the surface of the body was so common. Sio siku hizi mko wasafi zaidi. It was so common. So for us, for those people to get rid of those, DDT was a miracle. But after several years of use of DDT, it was realized that some birds' populations were decreasing. DDT was having very detrimental effects on the kind of eggs and the quality of eggs that those birds were laying. And at the end of the day, the eggshells used to be very weak. Once it lays and lies on it, it could not hatch, it got crushed. Are you together there? So at the end of the day, the whole generation of some bird species got eradicated, and that's when Rachel Carson wrote about the Silent Springs because of the decline or loss of the biodiversity in the environment. After the ban of DDT, because DDT was eventually banned in many countries, the birds' population started to increase. Unfortunately, DDT is a chlorinated insecticide which have very large half-lives. So for those regions where it had been used en masse, you still get studies that are studying DDT, but residual DDT. In some places like Western Kenya, we have places where DDT is used, kwa kina Mudavadi, where we have a lot of malaria. Now it is a compromise. Is it about somebody dying of malaria or losing a voucher? They say, let us lose a voucher instead of losing a child. So there are some nets, mosquito nets, that are still currently being treated with DDT just because of that. Again, we have environmental effects of chemicals such as in soil resources, biodiversity in agriculture. You know, in agriculture, if you use pesticide extensively, some of those pests may become used to these pesticides and they may generate some resistance, and the pest population may again start to increase out of this. Next slide. What challenges do we have because we are now part of this developing country in sound chemical management? One of it is what we call institutional and technical capacity. And that's why we are trying to train you to trigger your imagination so that whenever you go out there, you'll be able to build some institutional capacity and you'll be technically armed to deal with issues of sound chemical management. The other challenge that we have been having is the worker knowledge. If I'm making paints, I know how to make paints. I have been taught in class how to make paints. I've been taught how to manage some of these chemicals. I'll go start up my company, then get a few semi-skilled people who have gone all the way to their O levels, provided they can be able to mix things and stir. They are good workers because I will pay them cheaply. So what we have been having is poor people working in close proximity to toxic chemicals or working with toxic chemicals, and these workers are often unaware of the high risk that the poor working conditions and lack of safety requirements exposes to them. I come from a coffee growing area. We used to spray coffee when we were relatively young. And the pesticide used to be like malathion, chlorpyrifos, those copper-based pesticide. And mask nimeiona nikiwa mtu mzima. Mask. And coffee trees are normally tall. You know that. So you are there with your knapsack sprayer, and you are spraying like this in all parts of the coffee, and you must ensure that that pesticide gets into the deepest part of the coffee shrubs. Are you together? Do I have anything to cover my nose? My skin? Some chemicals used to be very harsh on us. Before you spray them, you had to put a lot of Vaseline on your face. Others you have some burns, like a pesticide called Daconil. Those of you, and it got burnt at some point. And farmers used to smuggle Daconil from Tanzania. The government has banned, but they are smuggling. The government was trying to manage the chemicals, but the farmers themselves were trying to smuggle the chemicals. Institutional and technical capacity. Worker knowledge. Those are some of the challenges. Then again, public awareness. That is what I was talking about there. In agriculture, for example, poor knowledge of the safe use of pesticides, lack of facilities for personal hygiene, inappropriate storing and disposal conditions lead to human toxic exposure. The major challenge we are currently having as a country is a sector called informal sector, jua kali sector. These are the people, because the heat is too much, they work with their shirts off, the small smelters. Have you seen that? Their shirts are off, they are there doing smelting work, and here is a metal that had been treated even with some paints. And in the process of their smelting, the paint is getting burnt. There are those toxic fumes that are coming out of it. And the room is very tiny. Kariobangi Light Industries, Gikomba, and the related places, the place is tiny. So everything that is getting produced out of that activity is getting into the system of this person. The person will start complaining of kifua. Then all of a sudden, hakuji kazi. At the end of the day, ameenda. So we are sending you as ambassadors out there. Can you go and educate a society of chemistry, some of these people, on the risk they are exposing themselves to? Let's go to the next slide. As Kenya Chemical Society, having seen there's a need to teach the Kenyan population about sound chemical management, there has been some outreach programs. And one of the outreach programs helps to establish